Um, you know, you once said, and I always tie it to this podcast, but you were talking on one of our shows about something else. I think it was the success of your Kliq there. And you said rather succinctly, well, everyone loves a buddy film. And the truth of that should not be lost. So I did a deep dive on my own on that topic of the buddy film. And I found I went through a lot of the buddy films that we've seen. What are some? Let's throw some out, Kev.
Well, we talked Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid,
right? So technically, you know what? And I wouldn't normally go there, but for obvious reasons, yeah, I put that there too. But now in the modern age, like 48 Hours, right? The Nick Nolte, Eddie Murphy.
To me, that's the start of, because usually the do you remember the guy that was the heel in this? He ended up being on like Sex and the City and all these other shows. But the guy that's the heel in that movie was like, it was him, and he had an Indian counterpart. And like they were vicious. They were vicious heels for like that period.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's when he gets Eddie Murphy out of
yes.
There. Yeah, that's the,
and
you know that guy.
Sure.
He was Samantha's boyfriend, I think, on Sex and the City for several seasons.
So, and then now shortly after this,
but they had that because Nolte, he was a con, and Nolte was the crusty cop. I want to think he had an Eldorado convertible. Remember, he gets him in when he just reaches across and punches Eddie Murphy one time in the side of the head.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, everybody remembers that. But that was that kind of set up because there always had to be like, they couldn't be. We were talking about one a couple weeks ago, and like I looked at a couple of lists of different buddy films, and nowhere was Bad Boys.
You're right, and I didn't think of that, but that's Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith.
Yeah,
and I thought to myself, like, they did 3 of those, and
yeah, I wonder why. That, like, what about it violated? But because there are some buddy film rules, right? Like, first of all, one has to be a bit of a misfit, right? And the other guy's like the more together cat, right? I guess of Mice and Men. Now that I'm thinking, I don't know if we can include a literature here, but it was filmed, I guess, right? Of Mice and Men, George and Lenny. Put that in there. So in 48 Hours, you had like Eddie was the screwball. Well, he was the convict, right? So he would have been the screwball, and then your white hat would have been Nick Nolte. Lethal Weapon. Now, what is that, like 87? I'm thinking.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Around there, right?
But you've got the white, you got the white black, you got the
yeah, that's kind of a trope there too.
Kind of the by the book black police officer, and they're always trying to get their fucking retirement, but
there's one thing in the way.
Out of control white guy is Tango and Cash.
I didn't think of that either. Yeah,
Tango and Cash. There was
I don't know that I ever saw it. That was Stallone and
Kurt Russell.
Okay.
And the bad guy was Raul Julia.
The great Raul Julia.
Great Raul Julia.
The dead, but great Raul Julia.
Still looks good.
So it seems that one buddy always needs a dysfunction.
Yeah.
Right, of some kind.
Like, there we go. Look at Stallone. Did anybody see the Tulsa show? I was just going to
ask you, how's Tulsa? Is this worth a shot or what?
The King of Tulsa?
Did you see it?
I watched it.
And no dice?
So the guy does 25 years to protect the mob boss. Keeps his mouth shut, honor, the mob honor. And this is, of course, Stallone's character. He comes back, and they bring him in. They got nothing for him in the New York area, so they give him Tulsa, and he decides that he's going to take over the state-run legalized recreational and medical marijuana field.
Mm.
And he's taking a percentage out of, because he's taking a percentage, a cut to give these guys protection.
Yeah. Okay. So it's. All right, I can read the expression. I'm a busy guy. I can't waste my time with this stuff.
And I'm just thinking, like, to myself, like, I like Stallone. Must be paying him a shitload of money because I didn't get it.
Yeah. He's probably behind it creatively in some way, right? In order to get out there and do this, he has to have a piece of the.
The thing is they're trying to tie it off that Yellowstone show. Like it runs on the same network.
Mm-hmm.
I got to say, this is probably the last year for Yellowstone. How old's Stallone?
I was just going to ask that.
He's 76.
I'd put him mid-70s, right? Has to be. Still looks good in that shot, anyway.
Yeah, no,
76. Good call. So, all right, to get back to our, if we're going to allow women, right? Of course, we're saying buddy, but women could be buds. Thelma and Louise.
I guess that's
got to be there.
Here's one that I thought about that was interesting. Was the original Odd Couple was Mathau and
Jack Lemmon. Yeah.
And they end up coming back, I don't know how many years later, with the Grumpy Old Men.
Right.
And another buddy film. And
again, the buddy film, but there's dysfunction.
Yes.
Great dysfunction.
And they just there we go. Like those two guys are getting Ann Margaret. Come on.
Yeah, Ann Margaret. She could have made that list that we were talking about a few weeks ago, right?
Oh, well, she's anybody that bangs Elvis is on the list.
Can we get back to Men in Black, maybe, or something like that? A little Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith.
How many of those were there? 3?
Nah, there was a few. Yeah, I can think of 3 offhand.
Didn't they have like a spinoff where there was another one?
It could have gone beyond, but I remember 3.
Yeah,
Is that real? I'm looking at a picture here for those of you listening of Men in Black International. It's called. It's a lady, a young lady, and a dude.
I said one of the Helmsworths.
Yeah, I did not see that one. Blues Brothers.
No, classic.
How about that?
And then they did several. It's almost like comedy combos, like Tommy Boy. Tommy Boy's like that was
Farley.
Yeah, with Farley and David Spade. But Tommy Boy was just that was so class. Then you go with anything with Will Ferrell and O'Reilly.
How many did they do together? Spade and Farley.
Bo Derek was his mom, and
it was just that. It was just Black Sheep and Tommy Boy. Okay. I feel like it was 100. Those were enough to make it feel like 100.
I can watch Step Brothers like once a month. I mean, just the Catalina wine mixer alone, just some of that stuff is just.
Any others we're missing? Any here?
Maybe some more films?
Contemporary. Yeah, there may be some more contemporary ones I'm not aware of.
I was thinking about some crazy ones. Like, I forget, was his name Clyde? the orangutan and
Any Which Way, Any Which Way But Loose.
He was kind of a sidekick for Eastwood.
That's the most twisted buddy film. Yeah, the Eastwood and Clyde the orangutan.
Yeah.
Right turn, Clyde.
Yeah.
And punch.
With what was that guy's name? Bill Smith. Bill Smith was the heel in that one where he fights him bare fists.
Oh, the bare knuckle brawl.
What's his name? Philo Beto?
Philo Beto is exactly his name.
Yeah.
Why do I remember that?
Because it was Clint Eastwood.
And I think it was on like every other day on HBO when I was a kid, I think I watched. Then there was the sequel, Any Which Way You Can. Of course, they both starred the great Ruth Gordon, if I'm not mistaken.
And Sandra Locke. Who was in every Clint Eastwood movie for like a couple of centuries there.
Boy, there's a whole Turner and Hooch. So now there's a
Hooch.
whole category of buddy films with animals, which I guess Coco Beware and Frankie, if we're talking about ring buddy teams in the ring, not a tag team necessarily, but of course you have
Christian Bale and the woman with the largest feet.
Christian Bale and Bruce, the DP. The DP for half the film, I'm going to guess, and then somebody stepped in the day after that. Rush Hour. Rush Hour with
that was oh God, Chris Tucker,
Jackie Chan, and
Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker, right?
Yeah. Here's one that's a good film is Brandon Lee and Dolph Lundgren and that what is it? Big Trouble in Little China or some.
No, Big Trouble in Little China was Kurt Russell. Wasn't it? Showdown in Little Tokyo, not Little China.
Yeah.
What were you off by? Is what you're going to say?
But that was actually that was a good film.
How could that be a good film? I didn't see it, but it's karate, right? It's like an ass kicking karate flick, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it was they.
Just refusing to believe that Dolph Lundgren was anything that would be considered a good film.
I think Dolph was had a good run.
Well, as the Russian, as I Must Break You, in Rocky IV.
Drago,
right? U.S. versus USSR. Yeah, man. So I think there's a correlation between the tag teams of wrestling and the buddy film formula. I'm gonna be looking for it. I'm gonna go through the week now, and they're all gonna pop in my head. All the ones I can't think of.
I thought
now.
Sean and I were a different kind of a tag team.
You're referring to
Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, but that's like I said. It's the difference in personality, in moveset.
At the beginning, I was like, I didn't even speak. I was like Lurch.
Yeah, right. When the bodyguard thing. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Oh yeah. Then you know what? Someone mentioned Ivan Koloff, but didn't Koloff have that run with Don Kernoodle? I think they were tag champs. Oh, it was Slaughter and Kernoodle. It wouldn't be. Yeah, Slaughter and Kernoodle, which I guess is kind of an odd pairing.
Yeah. Who was it that Slaughter was when Slaughter went like to the Iraqis? Who was he with?
Well, it was with Adnan.
Yeah,
and Sheiky Baby. They brought Sheiky Baby as Colonel Mustafa.
Yes,
because we all forgot that 6 months ago he was the Iron Sheik. There they are.
Oh,
Adnan El-Casey, who I hired for a roast. We had him come up and do a comic set for a roast. It has to be seen to be believed. So he gets up in the middle of all these comics and wrestlers ribbing, and he does the set. He goes and sits down, Sheik Adnan El-Casey. And Bill Apter gets back to the mic. He goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, the comic stylings of Adnan El-Casey." But it was good to have him there anyway. Oh, good Lord.
Where did he break in? Like was he world class?
He was Billy White Wolf, I believe, right? Was it his first gimmick? I'll get confirmation on this in a moment. I think he did the Billy White Wolf thing. Now, yeah, okay. So in the manager role, yes, world class.
Yeah, world class.
In Dallas was a big staple for him. But he was one of those guys that was all over the place. But you know what though? When I think of Adnan LKC and the ring garb, I'm instantly reminded of bed sheets